could you do the invocation, please?
Good evening, everyone. Father God, we just give you the glory and we give you honor. We thank you for keeping us safe here. We ask that you send forth your presence, your spirit, and your light and truth to organize and direct this meeting and the affairs of the city. Father God, I ask that you will release your love, your peace, and that your will be done. We come against any ungodly strategies, spirits, and plans, and command them to be shaken out of position and aborted in Jesus' name. I ask that you bless all the attendees, the citizens of Glenarden, and all the participants in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen.
Amen. Madam Clerk, could you do the roll call, please?
Sure.
Councilwoman Fareed. Councilwoman Fareed, you're muted. I'll move on. Councilwoman Guillaume.
Councilwoman Guillaume.
Here.
Councilman Herring. Councilman Hairston.
Here.
Councilwoman Fareed.
Here.
Councilwoman Jones. Here. Vice President Ferguson.
Here.
And Council President Ferguson.
Here.
There's a quorum. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Any objections?
Yes. Councilman Herring?
The Director of Public Works by seen that on the agenda of the department head for questions under reports. He does control the second largest budget in our city, so I'm not understanding why I don't have a report. Questions and answers.
Thank you, Councilman Herring. As I understand it, and we can revisit this, the director position is new, so we haven't written that into our rules as of yet. And that is why it's not actually written out. It's my understanding, and correct, there's never been a director of public works in the city of Glenarden, correct? Correct.
That is actually, Mr. President, that is not correct. The Director of Public Works was in office until 2005 when they eliminated the position. So he was the Director of Public Works.
Oh, thank you.
Let's move forward. If he's needed for any questioning, he can come up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, there's unanimous consent to the agenda, and the agenda is adopted. First item on the agenda is Delegate Jazz Lewis,
as he is discussing the proposed transfer of the liquor license for Glenarden Wine and Spirit to be in Woodmore Commons located in Goulet. Lewis, thank you for joining us. You can come to the mic so we can all hear you.
Good evening, my friends.
Good evening.
First, I want to thank the leadership of the great city of Glenarden for the work that you guys continue to do. You all do a yeoman's job for the citizens here without a lot of fanfare and attention, and I appreciate you all. As a resident, long-term resident, but also as a friend in public service and sharing the same constituents, I want to start off by saying thank you. Same to the citizens who come out here every month and consistently are here to engage in the process.
We can't hear nothing he's saying.
I appreciate you. I am here because I stand in opposition to the liquor store transfer from the one part of our district to another part. Many of you all here who have followed me over my political career as your delegate has known that I have done a lot of work over the last couple of years to study liquor concentration in Prince George's County. One of the things that we found out through that is our legislative district, the 24th legislative district, has one of the highest concentrations of liquor density in the region. The only district that has higher than this is District 47, and that's because it is almost exclusively in the Inner Beltway. When the 24th district was only in the Inner Beltway, it had the highest, right? And now we're at the second highest. And I want to kind of share what that means for us. So in areas when there's an over-concentration of liquor store, and the way I define that is more than one liquor store within a mile, there are higher rates of acts of violence. This is not my opinion. This is research done by Johns Hopkins University. When there is a concentration of alcohol outlets within a quarter of a mile or a half a mile upwards to a mile, and this was reported by the Recovery Research Institute in California, says that the drinking is heavier even for adolescents. I have a piece of legislation that I'm bringing to break up the concentration of liquor stores throughout the county, to no longer approach this from a legislative district by legislative district approach, which is what we've had to deal with, and move it towards a countywide strategy. What happened in the past was that most of the liquor stores congregated in the Inner Beltway because historically that's where the population was. Over time, the population in the county has moved outward into the Outer Beltway, not the Inner Beltway. But the liquor stores were locked in where they are because you can't transfer liquor stores across legislative district lines. So that means if you were oversaturated, you were locked in, okay? Even though we know that in Bowie, in Upper Marlboro, in Laurel, in Brandywine, we have a lot of developments that are coming on board, okay? Stores, such as the owners are here, if they wanted to transfer, they don't have the option of transferring to them. And I want to be clear also, I am not opposed to liquor store. I have nothing personally against any owner here or anywhere else. I have no relationship with any owner here or anywhere else. But what I am tired of is that the concentration in our district is having an impact on drug addiction and violence, and our residents come to me, and they come to Senator Benson, they come to Delegate Harrison consistently figuring out what can we do about crime, what can we do about drugs, what can we do about the concentration of these stores in our district. So I am trying my best to put together a countywide strategy where over time, stores will be able to move wherever their money is good in the county, but not within another mile of another store. That way we start to lessen the density over time. I would love an option where the county could possibly purchase licenses from folks who are willing to exit the community and do another endeavor in order to break up that concentration. The southern part of our district, where I believe the owner currently is and going to move from, we have about 5 licenses within a mile radius. If we move this license here, we'll have 2 in less than a mile. Now, if you go just beyond that, look at about a mile and a half to 2 mile radius. We have plenty of others. When you get over into Lake Arbor, when you look over right here, and you go down MLK, we have plenty in abundance already, okay? But having 2 within walking distance, I don't think is leading towards the change that we want to see in this community. The last thing I'll leave you with is, I didn't know how the community would respond when I put out the petition. I really didn't. I knew that this is something I've been focused on because my father struggled from substance abuse and I grew up here, and I have plenty of memories of going through the drive-through liquor stores and having to throw my father's beer bottles out the window and get my tail beat for it, because I understand how addiction works in black communities, okay? I put that petition out there, and 1,300 people in this community signed on to that petition. Now, some of them may be coming next week when we go to the Board of License Commissioners to stand with us, and some of them may just be letting their name. But that typically doesn't happen. That 1,300 people stand up and say, this is something that we don't want. Nothing against any owner, but this isn't what we want to see in our neighborhood and our community. Thank you guys for hearing me, and I'm open to any questions.
Thank you, Delegate Lewis. One question I did have is, we want to stand with you and oppose liquor store, what should we do?
So the first thing you can do, you can message the Board of License Commissioners. There's going to be a hearing next week. Ask them to speak, or you can send written testimony, or attend with us. All that would be great. The lowest hanging fruit thing you could do is sign our petition, which I will email to you all if you want to share that. I know a number of you have signed on, and I thank you for that as well.
Thank you. And when is the hearing?
It is next Tuesday. Let me get the exact time. That's right.
Tuesday, February 28th.
28th at 10 a.m. Yep. And there's a Zoom option. Exclusively Zoom. I'll get that to you.
And for citizens who are listening online, to register to testify at this hearing, you could email B as in black, L as in Larry, C as in country, at co.pg.md.us.
That's right.
And let them know that you would like to testify. Mayor Cross, did I see your hand?
Thank you, Delegate Lewis, for the briefing, the comprehensive briefing. I do want to ask a question. You said 1,300 have signed your petition. I also note that many of the churches, by the way, have a QR code that they put out on Sunday morning, which a lot of people signed. So what is the number, the target number, to actually have this petition to referendum make a difference in this policy?
You know, so there's legal grounds that allow a transfer to happen, right? You have to, I think, make a certain level of capital investment. I know Linda will come in and explain many of that to you guys because she represents a number of the stores in the industry. But one of the biggest ones is you have to stay within the legislative district bounds, which they would be doing. A component of what the Board of License Commissioners have to consider is community feedback, right? So when 50 people come out, you know, though that's not a major representative sample of the community. When 1,300 people send in their name, well, that's very different. When the elected leadership in the area, for the most part, staying unified, that also is very different. And fortunately, Senator Benson, Delegate Harrison, and I all stand together on this issue. Delegate Olson is deciding to just stay out. But that's where we are. And of course, we would love our friends here in the great city of Glenarden to stand with us.
Thank you.
Yes.
Councilman Harry?
So you're saying they're transferring the license from what, Woodmore to across the street? Or where are they transferring this license from? What liquor store are they transferring this from?
So they're transferring it, technically if you look it up, it says like Temple Hills, but it's really the Suitland area.
Okay, that's
All right, think Suitland, part of our district, the southern tip of it.
Right.
The current Woodmore Wine and Spirits would not be moving. That is not what we're
there.
talking about. That is there.
Okay.
That is the anchor that we're saying this store would be less than a mile in proximity to. Okay?
Because when I look at it, I see just around Glenarden alone, you got A1 Liquors, you got Allmore Liquors, you got Bright Sea Road Liquors,
Palmer's.
you got Palmer's, Cox, Primo's, Woodmore Town and Spirits, and the other liquor store that's up there, I don't know what the name of it is, up there by the Shoppers Food on 704. So you're looking at like 9 liquor stores within almost a 1 mile radius. You know, and I'm not understanding how much do they think we drink. You know, I mean, I look at it in a way that you're inundating this community. Like, I've been here all my life. I've seen what happens at these liquor stores. I've seen stabbings at the liquor stores. I've seen prostitution at the A1 liquor stores. We sat up till 2 o'clock in the morning to get that stuff out of the community, get it stopped. You know, so I'm not understanding why is it's constantly being shoved down our throat, these liquor stores. And it's like no one's really speaking up and speaking out about it. And I think that we really needed to have more citizens come out because they should have been out. This place should have been packed when you were coming out.
Councilman Herrion, I also appreciate you highlighting the history of this, which is critically important. 30 years ago, then Delegate Joanne Benson and Senator Bucky Trotter started the 202 Coalition, specifically around the prostitution that was also around the liquor stores in our district. Excuse me, a little drafted here. And it's a big problem that we have. And I will note, Because, I've heard from some people that says, well, it's a complex process in putting together all the pieces for a new development, which will be Woodmore Commons. And if you pull one piece apart, everything will fall apart. I reject that premise entirely because I have eyes and I live in this county. Okay? I enjoy myself all across this county. I love to go up to Riverdale Park Station, where there's the Whole Foods and a number of restaurants up there. They do not have a liquor store on site. In its heyday, Bowie Town Center was a great place where everyone loved to go and fellowship with each other, and they do not have a liquor store on site. When you go down right now to Ritchie Marlboro Station, which is one of the newer developments that is doing very well, they also do not have a liquor store on site. Again, I am not opposed to liquor stores, but I refute the presumption that we need a liquor store in order for any development to be successful in this county, because we have so many developments that are doing very, very well. Thank you.
Councilwoman Jones.
Delegate Lewis, my question is this. Thank you so much for coming and sharing this information with the city of Glenarden. But my question is this, and the thing that I absolutely oppose. This liquor store will be located in Woodmore Commons, which is an annexed property of the municipality of Bowie. We are in the city of Glenarden. How in the world did they get to name a liquor store, Glenarden Wine and Spirits, when it's not even in Glenarden? We will not reap the benefits from that anywhere all the way around. If we're not even going to receive taxes like with the Woodmore Wine and Spirits. We receive tax money from that. We won't receive, overall in the county, they will. But as far as the municipality, the city of Glenarden, we won't reap any benefits from that at all, except having our name on something that most of us adamantly oppose. How do they choose? How are they choosing names to put on these establishments?
I will respectfully reserve that question for Ms. Carter, and then when they come to bring their points.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Are there any other questions from council members? All right, Councilwoman Fareed, did you have something?
No.
She said no.
Okay, she said no. All right. Well, Delegate Lewis, we appreciate you coming out to inform us. At this point, I understand that all we need to do if we want to oppose this is to go out, one, which I've already done, email the
Petition out.
Yes, the petition. You can also email the liquor board and let them know that you would like to testify on February 28th at 10 a.m.
That's right.
In opposition to the transfer of the license to Woodmore Commons.
And I just shared, sent a text to the council president with the Zoom information for those who would like to hop on. Thank you guys so much for the time. I appreciate your partnership in our community. Love you guys. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry, there is, thank you. From Abigail, and ma'am, I'm sorry, what is your name?
Linda Carter.
Linda Carter. So
Hi,
this
can you hear
is
me?
reserved only for citizens' comments. Delegate Lewis came out to inform the citizens of Glenarden of transfer license from one place to another. And so we invited our citizens to come out. This is our regular hearing. For our citizens to come out to hear what our delegate had to say and to respond. But outside of that, we're not accepting any more comments.
I appreciate that. Could I just address
Well, one second. If you can return to your seat, please, and we're going to finish answering asking questions of Delegate Lewis. The question from Abigail Johnson: there has been an increase in crime in the area, and a liquor store will increase the rate as well. I don't think that's a question, it's more so the statement. I'm sorry.
The data shows it out, though, that, the concentration, the proximity, it's not about the stores by themselves, right? It's not like these store owners themselves are encouraging it, but there's something about the proximity of the stores together that encourages a certain element, okay? And, we have choices to make then by allowing more density. We can get more revenue as a public body from the taxes, but you're probably going to also spend some of that on security of some site too, right? And it depends on what type of choice we as a community want to make. I think we can choose one where we don't live and have, to Councilman Herring's point, 9 liquor stores in less than a mile or within a mile radius of each other, when other parts of our county do not have that. And frankly, if we start to think about how populations have changed over town, it just doesn't make sense for us anymore. It doesn't make sense for us anymore. So I'm moving very aggressively with the legislation that I've had. We've had some changes in the legislature where I think we should have the votes now to move forward. I do know that Delegate Alston has her own ideas on possibly purchasing some licenses, that we're working on some amendments that would be more amenable to industry for her. But to the person's point, the data bears out the fact that the concentration of density increases crime, and we don't want that. Thank you guys so much for your time.
Sir. I'm sorry, one more question. Last question to Mayor Cross.
Thank you, Mr. President. Has there been any thought given to an alternative? Many of the citizens in our city, as well as neighboring cities, are interested more to the family-oriented, like establishments coming into this zone of Whitmore Commons and Whitmore Overlook. Maybe we make a proposal that instead of inundating us with another liquor store, because we already have the one liquor store, could we look at this new development as a family-oriented development? What can the House of Delegates do in that respect? Maybe make another proposal.
So what I will say is that liquor law is regulated at the state level. However, a lot of the other zoning rules that allows what will or will not come is at the local level, and I think that's a great question for Councilwoman Ivy. I do know that there are a number of other things that are planning in that project. There's obviously a Chase Bank that's being built. There was a lot of concern. I've heard a lot of discussion in my email about having 2 gas stations right next to each other as well. For things that deal with liquor, we get a notice at the state level, and we don't get a notice for that. But I do think it's a really important conversation that we should be bringing up. What we can do, and what I have been trying to do, I do have legislation on this, is encouraging more different types of liquor licenses. Not one that allows for necessarily off-premise consumption. That's when you think of a liquor store where you purchase something and you leave off the premises, as opposed to on-premise consumption, which is what you would have at a restaurant, okay? And we can encourage restaurant licenses. That doesn't automatically mean the restaurateurs are going to come, but we are using our power right now from up here down through the Blue Line corridor, which you also hear me talk a lot about, on how we can encourage that. The last thing I'll mention is there's also data, and I'll send this to you guys, on how the concentration of liquor stores can also decrease property values, which isn't something I just had to put it out there too, because we've spoken mostly about the crime and the other elements, but folks work hard to get their homes and set up their businesses, and they don't deserve for their property values to be lowered either. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate Lewis. I'll remind the audience and citizens here in the room that there's no recording in the chambers. Thank you.
No problem. Have a great one. Thank you.
If you would like to see a recording of Delegate Lewis, this is being recorded. With that, one more question, and that'll be the because I did miss it.
No worries. Happy to.
I signed the online petition. Is that sufficient?
That is sufficient, but I would say just as the council president stated, if you want to register your concern at a higher level, the way we set up the petition is that everyone who signs it, a copy of your signature, essentially saying you agree with opposing the transfer, went to blc@co.pg.md.us. So we definitely flooded their emails with 1,300 emails. But if you want to testify, that would be the next step to register your concerns. You could email, like the council president said, blc at co.pg.md.us in order to do that via Zoom.
Thank you, Delegate Lewis, and thank you for serving this community well. Appreciate you.
Love you guys. See ya.
So with that, we'll move on. Ma'am, 2 minutes, and just as it relates to the name.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And first and foremost, my name is Linda Carter, and I'm here on behalf of the applicant for the license. And I know that we have offended, and we are very apologetic about having done so, the city in connection with the name. When my client first began negotiations with the landlord and the manager for the property, Heritage Partners, this is the site plan of the property that he was provided. And it says Woodmore Commons, Glenarden, Maryland. There was never an intent to usurp this city's name in any way, shape, or form. But at the time negotiations began and the name was chosen, my client was under the impression that this was, in fact, Glenarden, it may not have been the incorporated portion of the city, but he truly believed that it was part of Glenarden proper. So our deepest apologies. We have submitted a name to the landlord that we are hoping will be approved by tomorrow, and we will be releasing that name publicly within the next day.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We appreciate your time.
All right. Moving on to the next item in our agenda. Stated in the work session, the council was provided the meeting minutes from January 9th, the work session, the January 17th public hearing, and January 23rd regular session. Are there any adjustments or edits needed for any of the three meetings mentioned? Any objections to it being put in the record?
Yes, Mr. President, I'd like to ask for a voice vote.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, could you do a voice vote to accept the meeting minutes?
Councilwoman Fareed,
Yes.
Councilwoman Guillaume,
Yes.
Councilwoman Guillaume.
Yes.
Thank you. Excuse me, Councilman Hairston,
Yes.
Councilman Herring,
Same.
Councilwoman Jones,
Yes.
Council Vice President Ferguson,
Yes.
and Council President Curtis.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. Minutes are adopted. Thank you. Next on the agenda is legislation. We'll start off with legislation O-05-2023, an ordinance to amend Chapter 16 ethics. Madam Clerk.
Ordinance 05-2023, sponsored by Council President Curtis, Vice President Ferguson, and Council Members Fareed, Guillaume, Hairston, Herring, and Jones. The first public hearing was January 17th, and the second was February 14th. The first reading was January 23rd, and this is the second reading. Excuse me, an ordinance to amend Chapter 16 Ethics. Whereas the City of Glenarden is a municipal corporation in the state of Maryland, and whereas Code subsection 5-08 et sequentia for the general provisions article requires municipal corporations to enact ethics laws and requires that the State Ethics Commission approve all municipal ethics ordinances, and whereas the Maryland General Assembly enacted House Bill 363 and Bill 1058 during the 2021 legislative session, which added new laws to the Maryland Public Ethics Law and requires local governments to incorporate certain changes into their respective ethics ordinances. And whereas the City of Glenarden finds it necessary and in the public interest to amend Chapter 16 to comply with the state-mandated ethics code requirements. Now, therefore, be it ordained by the City Council of Glenarden, Maryland, sitting in regular session on the 21st day of February 2023, that, number 1, Chapter 16, subsection 16-4, definitions, be and hereby amended to read as follows. Subsection 16-4, definitions. In this chapter, the following terms have the meanings indicated. Quasi-governmental entity, an entity that is created by the state statute, that performs a public function, and that is supported in the whole or in part by the state, but is managed privately. Number 2, Chapter 16, subsection 16-6, conflicts of interest. Be and hereby amended to read as follows. Conflicts of interest. Part G, solicitation and acceptance of gifts. An official or employee may not knowingly accept a gift directly or indirectly from a person that the official or employee knows or has reason to know. E, in an association with any entity acting on behalf of an association that is engaged only in representing counties or municipal corporations. H, disclosure of confidential information. Other than the discharge of official duties, an official or employee or former official or employee may not disclose or use confidential information that the official or employee acquired by reason of the official or employee's public position or former public position and is not available to the public for the economic benefit of an official or employees or that of another person. J, an official or employee may not retaliate against an individual for reporting or participating in an investigation of a potential violation of local ethics law or ordinance. Number 3, Chapter 16, subsection 16-7, financial disclosure. The local elected officials and candidates to be local elected officials be and is hereby amended to read as follows. Subsection 16-7, financial disclosure. Local elected officials and candidates may be local elected officials. Number D, public record. Number 5, the commission or office designated by the commission shall not provide public access to the information related to consideration received from A, the University of Maryland Medical System, B, a governmental entity of the state or local government in the state, or C, a quasi-government entity of the state or local government in the state. F, an individual who is required to disclose the name of a business under this section shall disclose any other names that the business is trading as or doing business as. F and G, contents of statement. Number 4, gifts. A statement filed under this section shall include a schedule of each of the gifts in excess of $20 in value or a series of gifts totaling $100 or more receiving during the reporting period or on behalf of, directly or indirectly, any one person who does business or is regulated by the city or from an association, or another entity acting on behalf of an association that is engaged only in representing counties or municipal corporations. 9, relationship with the University of Maryland Medical System, state or local government, or quasi-government entity. A, an individual shall disclose the information specified in the General Provisions Act, subsection S-607JL, annotated Code of Maryland, for any financial or contractual relationship with 1, the University of Maryland Medical System, 2, a governmental entity of the state or local state in the state, or 3, a quasi-government entity of the state or local government in the state. B, for each financial or contractual relationship reported, the schedule shall include 1, a description of the relationship, 2, the subject matter of the relationship, and 3, the consideration. Numbers 9 and 10. A statement filed under this section may also include a schedule of additional interest or information that the individual making the statement wishes to disclose. G and H. For the purposes of subsection 16-7 F, G, 1, 2, and 3 of this chapter, the C following interests are considered to be the interest of the individual making the statement. Number 1, an interest held by a member of the individual's immediate family if the interest was at any time during the reporting period directly or indirectly controlled by the individual. 2, an interest held by a business entity in which the individual held an interest of 30% or greater at any time during the reporting applicable period. A business entity in which the individual held a 10% or more greater interest. B, a business entity described in Section A of this subsection in which the business entity held a 25% or greater interest. C, a business entity described in Section B of subsection in which the business entity held a 50% or greater interest. And D, a business entity in which the individual directly or indirectly through the interest in one or a combination of other business entities holds a 10% or greater interest. Number 3, an interest held by the trust or an estate in which at any time during the reporting period, A, the individual held a reversionary interest or a beneficiary, or B, if a revocable trust, the individual was a setter. 2.1, review of statements. Now, therefore, be it ordained by the City of Glenarden, Maryland, that this ordinance is and shall become effective immediately following the approval by the mayor or passage of the council over the mayor's veto.
Is there a motion to bring this ordinance to the floor for a vote?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Fareed,
Yes.
Councilwoman Guillaume,
Yes.
Councilman Hairston,
Yes.
Councilman Herring,
Abstain.
Councilwoman Jones,
Yes.
Council Vice President Ferguson,
Yes.
and Council President Curtis.
Yes.
Vote carries 6 yeses and 1 abstention.
Next up, a resolution authorizing, R-25-2023, a resolution authorizing a contract with Global Public Safety LLC for the purchase of outfitting 2 police cars. Madam Clerk.
Okay, sorry, I wasn't ready. Resolution 25-2023. Sponsor is President Curtis. co-sponsored at the request of the administration. The public hearing was February 14th. The regular session is now February 21st and was introduced on February 6th. A resolution authorizing a contract with Global Public Safety, LLC for the purchase of outfitting 2 police vehicles. Whereas the City of Glenarden, Maryland, the city, maintains a police department for the protection of public health, safety, and welfare, and whereas to protect the public's health, safety, and welfare, the police department must maintain an adequate number of police vehicles along with the necessary equipment for each vehicle, and whereas 2 police vehicles are in need of outfitting, such as lights, sirens, and transport compartments to properly serve the needs of the police department, and whereas Section 818 of the city charter requires that the city engage in a competitive bidding process for the procurement of goods and services with an estimated cost exceeding $2,000, except that whenever a federal, state, or local or government or any other agency, therefore, whose purchasing policies are comparable to those of the city, has conducted a bid and awarded the contract. The city may purchase by contract the bid item at the bid price from a successful bidder, subject to the approval of the mayor and council. And whereas the state of Maryland has conducted a competitive bidding process and awarded a contract to Global Public Safety, LLC for the purchase of equipment for the police vehicles, State of Maryland BPO number 001B8400207, and whereas the State of Maryland's purchasing policies are comparable to those of the city, whereas Section 818B of the city charter has been satisfied to justify the waiver of the competitive bidding process required by Section 818A of the city charter. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City Council of Glenarden, Maryland, sitting in regular session the 21st day of February 2023 as follows. 1, that the mayor be and is hereby authorized to sign a contract with Global Public Safety, LLC for the equipment listed in Exhibit A, 2 cars, and in a total amount of $48,035, provided that the authorization to enter into said contract be and hereby contingent upon the City Council's authorization. 2, payment for the vehicle shall be made from line item 8367-30-80-10, support equipment, police department under capital project function within the fiscal budget, and this resolution shall take effect immediately upon passage.
Is there a motion to bring this resolution to the floor for a vote?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Any opposition to this resolution?
Yes, Mr. President, I'd like to ask for a voice vote.
Madam Clerk?
Councilwoman Fareed,
Yes.
Councilwoman Guillaume.
Abstain.
I'm sorry, didn't
Here, abstain.
abstain? Okay. Councilman Hairston,
Yes.
Councilman Herring,
Abstain.
Councilwoman Jones,
Yes.
Vice President Ferguson,
Yes.
and Council President Curtis.
Yes.
Vote carries 5 yes and 2 abstentions.
Thank you. Next up is R-26-2023, a resolution authorizing a contract with Global Public Safety for the purchase of outfitting the car of the Chief of Police. Council Clerk, are you okay, or do you want me to read? Okay.
Yeah, just
Okay.
please.
All right. Resolution R-26-2023, sponsored Derek Curtis, Council President, co-sponsor at the request of the administration. Public hearing was held on February the 14th. The date of introduction was February the 6th, and we're voting on it on February the 21st today. Whereas the City of Glenarden, Maryland maintains a police department for the protection of the public health, safety, and welfare, and whereas to protect the public health, safety, and welfare, the police department must maintain an adequate number of police vehicles along with the necessary equipment for each vehicle. And whereas one police vehicle is in need of outfitting such as lights, sirens, and transport compartments to properly serve the needs of the police department. And whereas Section 818 of the city charter requires that the city engages in a competitive bidding process for the procurement of goods and services with an estimated cost exceeding $2,000, except that whenever a federal, state, county, or local government, or any agency thereof, whose purchasing policies are comparable to those of the city, has conducted a bid and awarded a contract. The city may purchase by contract the bid item at the bid price from the successful bidder, subject to the approval of the mayor and council. And whereas the state of Maryland has conducted a competitive bidding process and awarded a contract to Global Public Safety for the purchase of equipment for police vehicles. And whereas the state of Maryland purchasing policies are comparable to those of the city, and whereas Section 818B of the city charter has been satisfied to justify the waiver of the competitive bidding process required under Section 818A of the city charter, and now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of Glenarden, Maryland, sitting in regular session this 21st day of February 2023 as follows. That the mayor be and is hereby authorized to sign a contract with Global Public Safety for the equipment listed in Exhibit A, one car, and the total amount of $13,781.25, provided that the authorization to enter into said contract be and is hereby contingent upon the City Council's authorization. Number 2, the payment of the vehicle shall be made from line item 8361-30-80-10 support equipment police cars under capital project function within the fiscal budget. And number 3, this resolution shall take effect immediately upon passage. Is there a motion to bring this resolution to the floor for a vote?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. President.
Councilman Herring?
Okay, this is the second resolution that's come to us after the check has been signed, and I'm still trying to figure out what is going on here. I had the clerk pull me all the resolutions that we've had for the last year, and we've had over $500,000 in resolutions come before us, and I'm trying to figure out why is it that this one and the last one, and this is to you, Mr. Stewart. What is going on? Why were these put through? Because you've been here since March of 2021, I think it is. And you know that the rule is quite clear on the limitations on what needs council approval, which is $6,000 or more, correct?
1 second. So, point of order, so I just want to check with the parliamentarian. So, as we are going through this process, in the discussion phase, are we asking questions of different people, or are we? Okay.
Mr. President,
Councilman Herring?
this is a piece of legislation that needs explaining to me before I can vote on it. So yes, I do need some explanation to it, and we do discuss legislation on the floor and we ask questions of it so that I can be comfortable voting on it. So I'm asking Mr. Stewart, what's going on with this and why did it come to the floor at this time? I'm trying to figure out what's going on, you know, and I just asked him a simple question, and here we starting it already. Because I'm telling you, it doesn't look good when people are trying to hide information. It's just a basic question. I'm just trying to ask, did he know the policy, and how did this happen when we had $500,000 that had already gone through that did not go through this, that was done correctly? And that's what I'm asking.
Thank you. Treasurer Stewart, could you please respond to Councilman Herring's question?
Sure. So, Mr. Herring, I told you before that the procurement policy, or the lack of a procurement policy, has caused this to happen. The cars were ordered. The outfitment of the cars were ordered before they got to me. After they have gotten to me, I am finding out what's happening. Then I ask for resolutions to be done. During that time, those vendors are waiting to be paid. They have gone over 90 days without payment. And it is the responsibility of the Treasury to ensure that the credit, the full faith and credit of the city is held to the highest level. Given that, I had to prepare the check to resolve that debt that the city was in. After that, we are now putting in policies and procedures in place to ensure that that event does not recur. Now, you stated that these policies and procedures that I've been putting through cannot be passed unless it goes through the council. I just want to make it clear to you that it is the Treasury's responsibility to secure the funds, the financial well-being of this city. And that's where I'm standing when I look at the auditor's report, especially the responsibility of the managers. We have the right to prepare policies, internal controls to secure the financial well-being of this city. Given that, I hope it answers your question.
Actually, it does not. The question is, how did it happen when the policy clearly states in the charter, and it's only one line, nothing should be purchased over $6,000 without council approval? That's one line. There's no ambiguity about it. There's no confusion about it. I'm just asking how it happened. Because, and my thing is, and if you did it, if you didn't do it before, I'm asking who told you to do it this time? Or did you just do it on your own? Because whether we owe it or not, I'm gonna tell you right now, as a council member, I've seen where this council has gone from, we had a city manager that wanted to purchase an SUV. They went from, no, you can't purchase an SUV, to purchase a car, to purchase nothing. So that's the council decision to make, whether we want to buy the car, whether we don't want to buy the car. That's why I got to come before the council for approval. So you can't take it upon yourself to ensure if the council wants to take the responsibility, which it is our responsibility, not yours, it's our responsibility to approve any purchase over $6,000. You cannot take it upon yourself saying you're looking at this for the city's welfare. If that was the case, when it came to you originally, you would have brought a piece of legislation to us at that time. I mean, I want to thank the chief, because that's how we found out about it, because he was being transparent with it. This happened almost over a year ago. And as for the cars sitting there for a year or that long, I've got the email where they waited the dealer waited a whole year to get paid. So it isn't like yeah, we got to pay it, but this deal is very flexible when it comes down to payments from the city of Glenarden, because they know we do pay. So, no, it actually does not answer my question, because, again, that one line in the charter that says no purchase over $6,000 without council approval is there. And that nothing supersedes that charter, not you as treasurer, and also in the policies, the power of the treasurer clearly says that you will have you go by whatever policies or procedures put in place by the mayor and the council. And that's in the charter also. So I'm just asking the question, and I'm trying to figure out what's going on, because again, it's two. This happened twice. Now we're up to, what, $60,000, something like that? $50,000? You know, so no, I mean, it is not acceptable to me, you know, because again, it was just simply you just saying, hey, I can't pay this because I don't have a resolution, and getting with the council president or the city manager or whoever and saying, I need a resolution before I can cut this check, because you should not have cut that check. And you knew you shouldn't have cut the check because the charter is quite clear on the threshold for council, what needs council approval. So, no, it really does not answer my question.
Thank you, Councilman Herring. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk?
Councilwoman Fareed,
Yes.
Councilwoman Guillaume,
Abstain.
Councilwoman Guillaume?
Abstain. Abstain.
Councilman Hairston,
Yes.
Councilman Herring,
Abstain.
Councilwoman Jones,
Yes.
Council Vice President Ferguson,
Yes.
and Council President Curtis.
Yes.
Legislation passes 5 yes, 2 abstentions.
Thank you. Next up is R-27-2023, a resolution to procure the services of Al Erdi to prepare a site survey for 7th Street Park. Madam Clerk?
Resolution 27-23. The sponsor is Councilwoman Fareed. Public hearing was held on February 14th, and there's a typo. That's 2023. Our regular session was the 21st today, and it was introduced on the 6th of February. A resolution to procure the services of LRD PECMM Incorporated to prepare a site survey for the 7th Street Park. Whereas the City of Glenarden wishes to hire an independent contractor to prepare a site survey for the 7th Street Park, including obtaining required documentation from third parties as needed to complete the site survey, and whereas Section 825 of the City Charter exempts contracts involving technical or professional services from the provision of bidding procedures required by this chapter, and whereas the City of Glenarden has used CCM Inc. previously for the site survey for the MLK Park, and whereas these services, subject to review of the city attorney and its submitted proposal attached here to as an Exhibit A for the council final approval, and now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Glenarden, sitting in regular session on the 21st day of February 2023 as follows. 1, that the city is authorized to enter the attached agreement with LRD PECCM Inc., subject to review of the city attorney. 2, the contract amount of these services shall not exceed the shall be expended from the American Rescue Plan Acts Fund in accordance with Resolution 2026-2022 to use ARPA funds for the playground at 7th Street Park, and shall not exceed the rates proposed in Exhibit A, calculated on an hourly basis. And 3, that this resolution shall be effective immediately upon passage.
Thank you. Is there a motion to bring this resolution to the floor for a vote?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Any opposition to this resolution? Hearing none, there's unanimous consent, and this resolution is adopted. Next up is R-28-2023, a resolution to award a contract to Municipal Grant Services for grant consulting and project management. Clerk?
Resolution 28-2023. The sponsor is Councilwoman Guillaume. The co-sponsor is Vice President Ferguson. The public hearing took place on the 14th of February. We're here in regular session, and the date of introduction was February 6th, 2023. A resolution to award a contract to Municipal Grant Services for grant consulting and project management. Whereas the City of Glenarden administration recognizes the need to consult with a professional grant writer and project manager to secure local, state, and federal grants that may be available to the city. Whereas the Municipal Grant Services has shown to be the most responsive bidder, and whereas the City of Glenarden administration staff has negotiated a contract with the Municipal Grant Services, a copy of which is attached as Exhibit A, and whereas pursuant to the contract, Municipal Grant Services will provide local, state, federal, or other grant source consulting, drafting, monitoring, and project management for the set price of $3,750 per month. Whereas, in accordance with Charter Section 823, the administration recommends that it is in the public's best interest that the consultant agreement with Municipal Grant Services in substantially the form as attached be approved by the City Council, and that the mayor or council president be authorized to sign on behalf of the city. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City Council of Glenarden, sitting in regular session on this 21st day of February 2023 as follows. 1. The consultant agreement in substantially the form as attached as Exhibit A, B, and is hereby approved. 2. That the mayor or council president be and is authorized to sign the consultant agreement in substantially the form as attached. 3. Payment for services that shall be taken from the American Rescue Plan line item 2038107130. And 4. The resolution shall take effect immediately upon passage.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there a motion to bring this resolution to the floor for a vote?
So moved.
Is there a second? Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. President.
Councilman Harry?
So, Chief, so the rate is still at $37.50?
For the parliamentarian rules, that the presiding officer has to address the questions. City Manager Bryant, could you please respond to Councilman Harris' question?
Yes, good evening. To my knowledge, yes, it is.
Councilman Harris, anything else?
That's it?
Any other discussion?
Yes, real quick, on a different note, Councilman Herring commended me earlier for being transparent about the resolutions and stuff, in reference to the vehicles and stuff. As acting city manager and sitting into that spot, there were a lot of discrepancies, so I can't take the credit by myself. Treasurer Dean did bring a lot of stuff to my attention that we worked on together, so I don't want to be singled out as working on the resolution by myself, because he was very instrumental in making sure that we're where we are now. So I just want to acknowledge that.
Thank you, Chief Bryant. Any other discussion on this resolution? Any opposition to this resolution?
Yes, I'm asking for a voice vote.
Okay, Madam Clerk?
Councilwoman Fareed,
Yes.
Councilwoman Guillaume,
Yes.
Councilman Hairston,
Yes.
Councilman Herring,
Abstain.
Councilwoman Jones,
Yes.
Council Vice President Ferguson,
Yes.
Council President Curtis.
Yes.
Vote carries 6 yes, 1 abstention.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. That is all for our legislation for tonight. Next section on the agenda are reports. First report is Mayor Cross. Mayor, you have 5 minutes for your report.
Thank you, Mr. President. We'll skip straight to the budget relative to the executive branch. Just so that the citizens of Glenarden know that as of December 5th, this council, as well as the acting city manager and treasurer, zeroed out the mayor's budget. at which case the mayor has no money to attend conferences or pay for dues, at which case those things are being paid out of the mayor's private family budget to represent the city of Glenarden. The mayor's office supported 10 office calls and meetings, Prince George's Hope and Action Task Force, making recommendations on behalf of that task force. The committee recommended 10 proposed, 5 that are short wins for the county executive to address disenfranchisement in our youth and addressing the gun violence which has taken root in Prince George's County. The mayor attended the Maryland Black Mayors as well as the Prince George's County Board of Directors for the NAACP meetings and as well as the Glenarden Housing Authority community rental payment discussion and office calls. Relative to the Glenarden Housing Authority, we do note that the administrative officer was relieved of duty by the board of the Glenarden Housing Authority. That is under review as of right now in a legal potential battle. So at which case there has been a new director of housing and urban development which represents our region. The mayor will have a meeting with that director as we go forward in assessing particularly the board members of the housing authority and the timelines in which they were actually brought onto service. So they should be alternating, and as of right now, all of them may have at least 3 that leave at the same time. So the board, as well as the housing authority, is in discussion. If I look at the county executive budgeting listing, which happened January the 26th, looks like the county is in a good light for finances. We did meet with Eddie Pounds, Esquire, Perry White Ross, and Jacobson to represent, who are representing Woodmore Wine and Spirits. So we are going to stand behind Delegate Lewis in his presentation today relative to the amount of liquor stores per square mile that are unfortunately surrounding the city of Glenarden. We will also make recommendation that many of our citizens do take note to attend the board hearing as well as make testimonies relative to the impact to our community. I had an opportunity to speak on the Chili Most International Stop the Violence and Love campaign. The Chili Most show is aired to over 2 million listeners on January 27th. Speaking on love and peace and how we as a community must come together to further enable our children to fight back against the violence that has taken root. Offered mayoral proclamations to Patriots Technology Gymnasium, which is essentially buying a previous bank and is going to host STEM enrichment training and workshops and competitions there. For 27 years, the Patriots have been committing their vision to empowering students through technology. We made a couple of more recommendations as well as proclamations to the Burn Center at MedStar Washington Hospital. We also recognized National Burn Week. We looked at the first quarter 2023 events and newsletter, which has went out to all of the citizens. I do acknowledge we still have citizens who are not receiving the newsletter. So we do encourage all citizens to make sure that the addresses, if you have not received the January first quarter newsletter, please call 301-773-2100. Make sure your address is accounted for the second quarter. We are grateful for the first annual Creative Youth Arts Summit and Conference, which happened February the 4th. We are thankful that we had over 400 in attendance. 295 youth were able to receive free training on empowerment, financial literacy, audio broadcasting, DJing. They created vision boards, and they also had a master chef that talked to them about some careers that are now taking root. As we look at the President of the United States and the National Business Chamber of Commerce actually making a memorandum of agreement with the United Nations as well as the nations of Africa, the 2 #1 areas are entertainment and fashion. 2 of the areas that are now growing as far as our youth for future career opportunities. So we wanted to take hold of that and give them the greatest start possible for empowerment. The mayoral community forums have been quite successful. We did our last one relative to Safe Harbor Bill, which is combating human trafficking. Maryland, as well as D.C., is emerging as one of the top areas in our country for human trafficking, sadly to say. Human trafficking anywhere from labor to illicit behaviors, anything where a person is being forced against their will. The government itself is moving forward, provided the state of Glenarden via written request, as requested by the president, to the council. We'll actually lay the state of Glenarden down so that the citizens can see that as well. We are expanding the administration projection for city manager, as well as we welcome the Steel Beach Post-Production LLC, and hopefully you'll see a difference in the video quality that's coming across here even tonight. That concludes my briefing. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Next up is the acting city manager report. Manager.
Good evening, everyone. Chief Bryant, acting city manager and chief of police.
Sorry, and 5 minutes to you, sir.
Okay, well, I'll make it real quick. Acting city manager for the past 4 months. We've been making various strides to ensure that we are moving forward as a city. I think that's the mayor's slogan. But to address some issues and concerns that I have, being in this position for 4 months, I have to bring it to the table now. Most people know my resume states and that I've been with DC Police Department for 29 years. During that time, I served with 6 different mayors. What baffles me is that this great city with a mayor, intelligent mayor, intelligent council members, a thriving community, and administrative staff that's working above and beyond, that we have to deal with the situation with our current mayor. We have, if you look at her report, I see on this report that she has several things highlighted that are untruths about the city treasurer, myself as acting city manager, chief of police, and the city council, to pretty much say that we in cahoots against her. Never in my career have I been involved in such where a mayor takes an opportunity in a public forum to bury her council, city manager, police department, code enforcement, and that all began with me, to my knowledge, when I took over as acting city manager October 18th, 2022, at which time I have not taken leave because I believe in getting things done and working for the city. This all came to light when it was brought to the mayor's attention that the city manager had authority, and also that the city manager reports to the city council and the mayor. The mayor, if I can use the type of word that I heard several times before going up to the city manager's administration, and you can also defer back to the meeting on October 17th, where the mayor could constantly bury the city manager we had at the time and causing that lady to actually leave the job that particular night. The next day I took over, we went over some things, and the mayor adamantly told me that this resolution for me reporting to her and the city council was false. It was signed before I got here, and she told me it was just their opinion. So I did take an oath to be the chief of police, and I told the mayor on several occasions, I'm here for the community. I'm here to follow the charter. If I follow the charter, I'm not on her side, and I'm not on the council side. I'm here for the people. It really hurts me to come out like this because I never had to deal in a situation like this before. And the mayor, for example, she continues to say on multiple occasions that the employees of Glenarden are double dipping with the Gold Room, which is an entity of the city. My definition that I got from Webster says the active practice of receiving more than one income or collecting double benefits from the same employer or organization. As acting city manager, because she said that so many times, I looked into that. There's no evidence of double dipping. She said that on one hand. On January 21st, I received a call from the mayor that morning. She asked me, could approximately 60 people come in to the nutrition center to utilize this facility? I said, most definitely, Mayor. I allowed her to come in. She did her event, and the same people she said were double dipping were the people who had to come here and straighten up and rearrange everything after the fact. So I just wanted to clear that with the community, with the information that we need to get for our citizens and for our community. We need to get the proper information out there and clarify that the city council, treasurer, chief of police are not against the mayor. That's all I have for the city manager report. In reference to the chief of police report, I'm happy to say for the year 2022, we're down in all major categories to include homicides, robberies, assaults, and rape. These are called Part 1 offenses against individuals. We're down in all those categories. However, we are up in property crimes, breaking and entering, vehicle theft are the only two categories we're up, and overall we're up 2 crimes compared, 5 crimes over last year, because the vehicle theft has doubled from 14 to 28. But pretty much the city of Glenarden is still a very safe city. We have a strong partnership with Prince George's County Police Department. I had several phone calls today in reference to, I'm pretty sure you saw in the news about the Hyundais and the Kias, the vehicles. I'm working with Prince George's County to get some clubs to help the citizens in our community, to help put a safeguard on these vehicles in the city of Glenarden. So I just want to put that out there. You can call tomorrow. I should have some information by 12 o'clock to make sure our citizens in the city of Glenarden are safe. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you, Chief Bryant. Next up is the Treasurer's report. Treasurer Stewart, you have 3 minutes.
I'll go as quick as possible. This is the City Treasurer's report for the month of December 2022. Financial highlights. During the month of December, revenue was $5,383,028. Expenses were $2,902,736. Where revenue
I'm sorry, one second. Point of order. Mayor Cross, if you can not speak out while the treasurer is doing his report. When your report was read, everyone was listening. When the acting city manager's report was read, everyone was listening. No one interrupted with words that says trash and laughing. So could you please refrain? This is your first warning. The next one you will be removed from the council chambers. Thank you. City manager, I'm sorry. City treasurer, please continue.
Thank you, sir. So therefore, for the month of December, revenues exceed expenses by $2,480,292. Property tax, real property tax collections for December was $112,433. The amount actually received was really $112,000. whereas special assessment were collected for 20,000. So in total, real property tax was 92,195. For general fund, we received 3,144,281, where local taxes was 2,451,652. Licenses and permits were 51,612. State grants was 57,468. Service charges were 498,877, and other financial sources were 84,672. For the gold room receipts, we received $1,055 as compared to last year where we received $3,180. For the cash update, the city's cash balance remains sufficient to pay all outstanding bills as they become due. Current bank account balances as of February 2nd, 2023, the main account had $12,031,723,000. Forbearance had $7,078,000. Had $7,078. The gold room account had $139,798.
I'm sorry.
Block grant had $4,198,000. So that'd be it.
I mean, if you close, you go ahead and close it out after you.
Okay, so the block grant has 4,198. Cable PG grant has 334,000, and the audit is complete. We have filed the Uniform Financial Report to the Department of Legislative Services. That's the end of your report. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Given that we have given several opportunities for the council members to speak on this, we are going to open the floor now for the council to ask questions to the various reports. For council members are held to 3 minutes, please, if there are any questions. Councilwoman Jones.
I'm sorry, I want to make a statement. I wanted to retract the statement I made earlier to Chief Regis Bryant concerning the Public Works Director. Yes, we did have a Public Works Director, Mr. Cedric Brown, but he was, I don't ever remember a time that he ever even had to come to the meetings or give a report. The city manager always presented any report or answered any questions that concerned Public Works at that time. Thank you.
Thank you. In reference to that, as I told the council, told the community and the public, we are transparent. So if anybody do have a question for the Director of Public Works who's doing an outstanding job, we have no problem with that. I just ask if you have a list of bad things, make sure you add the good things in reference to it also, because it's not all bad. So I appreciate that. So we are welcome for questions, and the Director is available for questioning. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Just a point of order. As you all know, we hired a parliamentarian to help us with our proceedings and things of that nature. I asked for all members up on this podium to, if they have anything that they want to say, to address the chair. The chair can recognize you. Outside of that, the section we're on now, the city council comments, and we'll keep with that. All right. If there's some pressing, please just hold your comment, and then we can get through this in an orderly fashion. Okay. I'm sorry, one second. I just want to check with Ms. Jones. Are you finished?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other council comments?
Yes, I do.
So, Councilman Herron, do you mind? I'm gonna come to you. But okay, all right.
Go ahead.
No. I saw both of you guys, so I was just gonna give.
Okay. Let me say, Cedric Brown was not the Director of Public Works. Cedric Brown was the field supervisor. The last Director of Public Works was in 2005, and I remember that because he got removed from his position. So Cedric Brown was the field supervisor. We haven't had a director of public works since then. So when can I ask the department heads a question?
This is your 3
This
minutes.
is it? Okay, so yeah, I would like the director of public works.
Director, please. Thank you.
And another point of order, if you have any questions, please address them to the chair, and then I will address.
Mr. President, I thought y'all were trying to eliminate the meetings being drawn out. This is like dragging it out more than necessary.
So, members are simply going to ask their questions, and then I'm going to recognize whatever speaker is up, whoever is up, to give them permission to speak. We, went out to get a parliamentarian because we wanted more order and structure to our meetings. I am willing to learn from our parliamentarian. This is one of the suggestions that she gave, and I'm moving forward with it as a chair, which within my rights to do so. So the order of it is you can ask your questions. You just, in order to cut down on the bickering of or attacking individuals, if people just address their questions to the chair, then I can recognize someone to answer.
Okay, let me just ask this question. So where are we with the roof? Have the drains been cleaned out? Have the drains been looked at?
Yes,
by
sir.
staff?
Sorry. And I also give you the option, did you want to ask all the questions so you don't waste your 3 minutes?
No, I just,
Okay,
I
all
mean,
right.
my 3 minutes is, it's not working.
Yeah, I have it on my time.
I'll count them out.
I have it on my time. But
I need some own time.
Director Simpson, could you answer the
Yes, good evening.
initial question?
Yes, sir. Myself and the field supervisor have looked into the roof. He has done what he had mentioned before. Thank you for bringing that to my attention in the last meeting, and they have been looked at. The drains have been cleared in accordance with the roofing.
Right, Wagner, in accordance with what the warranty is required of us.
So we have not been able to find a clear warranty as it relates to the overall roof. We have found the work as it relates to the exhaust fans and some of the other work. But as the overall roof, and Wagner has not been as responsive to either myself or the field supervisor. But we are still.
Please check with the council clerk. Look and see.
Yes, sir.
You look in this, because we paid for an extended warranty on that roof.
Yes, sir. I'm still looking for it, and I'll be happy. And we're trying to get some response from Wagner.
Also, where are we with the assessment on streets? Have we looked at Ward 3 yet? Have we looked at getting a full assessment on Ward 3 streets?
We are currently in the process of looking through all the streets. Also, we're in that budget process with the treasurer, and yes, sir, I am. Gordian, I believe, is a particular company that was part of looking at streets, particularly with Glenarden Parkway from Bright Sea Roads going to Ward 3. I think it was Gordian is the company that at the time when I came on board is what they're looking at. I've also reached out to NVM Paving and a couple of other companies so that I can provide that information to you.
So are you getting quotes from them versus using our engineers? Because they're going to give you the highest quote in the world.
Well, I want to be able to, from how I understand, we want to be able to pull 3 quotes at a minimum. From what I've also been told is that Gordian is we can piggyback on what they're able to do through the state. But I'm still getting some clarification on that, and I'll definitely be able to provide you with clarity on what's going on with each ward as it relates to the paving of the streets and the calming devices that you brought to my attention at the last meeting.
Yeah, that was my last question about the common devices. Did you get the resolution from the clerk?
No, not for the common devices, but I'll make sure.
Send them the resolution for the speed bump. Councilwoman Ferguson, myself, and Harrison have, and I actually got a dollar amount in there so that you know what you're working with.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right, thanks a lot. Yeah, I don't want to go over my time because I don't want to get marched out of here. Let's go.
Thank you, Councilman Harris. Councilwoman Gail, Councilwoman Fareed.
Thank you, Council President. My question is to the mayor. My question is regarding the development at Wilmore Town Center, the turnover of the streets. to the city. We need to know the status of that, as a number of our resolutions or ordinances, rather, particularly the one around street parking, are going to be impacted by the streets in Woodmore Town Center. But that cannot happen until the streets are actually within the purview of the city.
Thank you, Councilwoman Fareed. Mayor Cross, could you answer that question, please?
We'll follow up and then return a response. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions from Councilman Hairston or Guillaume?
No,
Okay.
Council President, I'm good. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks.
I'm sorry, Councilman Hairston, what'd you say?
I said I'm good.
Thank you. All right. With that, we will move on to citizens' comments. Just a note, for all citizens' comments, you have 3 minutes to make your comments. I will ask that all citizens be respectful. There's no direct attacking anyone. If you have concerns, please state them. They are welcome. We will listen to them. But what we will not do is attack each other. If there are attacks, you'll be warned. And if you continue with the attacks, then you will be removed. Again, it is not my desire to remove anyone from council chambers or to prevent anyone from speaking, but we want to make sure that we're professional and that we are respectful of everyone. So it's what our community look for in organized professional meetings. So with that, we will open the floor to citizens' comments. When you come up, please state your name. If you're in the room, please state your name. Well, one, please raise your hand. I'll call on you. When you get to the podium, please state your name, and then you can start your 3 minutes. If you are online, please raise your virtual hand, and then I will get to you when I can. Or you could post a note in the chat to let me know that you would like to speak, and I will call on you when the time is correct. When your time is, to speak.
Point of order, Mr. President.
Councilman Harry?
Yes, the rules were amended to give citizens 5 minutes on R16/2022. It was amended to give each citizen 5 minutes per comment period. Section 3B1-1B.
Do you have a copy of that? You say top. Correct. So in the rules, citizens can have up to 5 minutes if if the presiding officer says it's 5 minutes. They can also have 3 minutes.
Where does it say that? It doesn't say
It does not say that that every citizen has to have 5 minutes. The maximum is 5 minutes.
Okay, now, originally when that legislation came up, it was to give citizens 5 minutes to speak. And it says you can give them additional time if you want to, but it didn't say you can shorten the time. You can give them additional time up to the mic, but they only get 1 time in addition if you choose to give them additional. But it does not say that it's up to a maximum of 5 minutes. That they should have a maximum of 5 minutes.
That's fine. I will consult with our parliamentarian. I mean, thank you. Thank you. So with that, citizens have 3 minutes. Ms. Smallwood.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Carolyn Smallwood, and I am questioning the 3-minute time. And in the draft of council rules, you go through page 4, section C. It states, citizen will be limited to 1 visit to the microphone for a maximum of 5 minutes per comment. And this is what I have, and I am requesting that I have my 5 minutes. Until you change the council rules and put 3 minutes in here, we are entitled to our 5 minutes. You can prefer with the
No, ma'am. I've already referred to the parliamentarian. You now have 2 minutes and 20 seconds.
okay. I do not agree with the council rules that's being changed because you're trying to muffle the city manager, our Ward 1 representative. I do agree with Resolution 25 and 26 and paying our bills. I believe that the person who is responsible for this should be reprimanded or either terminated. On ordinance 0223, in reference to vehicle parking, I agree with the resolution. What I don't agree with is people talking about other people who don't know what they're talking about. For instance, my name was used in the meeting about my father having a commercial vehicle. That part is true. He had a commercial vehicle. He had to find a place to park outside Glenarden. In 1963, when we moved in here, they told us we had a commercial ordinance, and he was not allowed to park, and that he had to park outside, and it was another expense to his business. Also, I have another complaint that a council person made about me personally, in reference to I'm having a group of people come into the nutritionist center and having a function, a card function. I did not have that function. That function came from parking planning. Yes, I played cards with those people, and I was not responsible for that. She put out misinformation about that. Yes, we did have people cooking. She said that people complained about the cooking. Nobody complained about the cooking. Only person complained was about Reuben Reed, who asked for food and he was denied, and she went in there and asked her sister that we offer her some food. So she put out misinformation about anybody. But for the record, and I would like to see this in the minutes, the city of Glenarden is constantly not obeying the Open Meetings Act. We do not get our minutes and our agendas on time. And last month, I asked for that to be in the record. It was not in the minutes. So I'm asking again that the January and February be recorded as in the minutes as records, that they are not following the proper procedure for the Open Meeting Act.
Thank you. Ms. Smallwood. Seeing that there aren't many comments, thank you. Just want to let you know that I gave you additional time. Are there any other comments from citizens? Mr. Powell? And Mr. Powell, since I gave Ms. Smallwood 4 minutes.
That's good. It won't take long.
As well.
It won't take long. Good evening. My name is Anthony Powell, and I live in Ward 1. From time to time, there are people who stand in front of the 7-Eleven here and the tobacco store over there, and they be like begging for money or waiting for people to give them money. Some of those people live in Glenarden. Not all of them, but some of them live in Glenarden. So I was wondering, since you are the elected officials of the city, what are you doing to help these people out? Anybody can answer my question.
Sorry, say that again?
From time to time, there's people who stand in front of the 7-Eleven across the street and the tobacco store over here. Either they're begging for money or they're looking for people to give them money. Some of these people, not all of these people, but some of these people live in Glenarden or they're hanging around Glenarden. So I was wondering, since you are the elected officials of the city, what are you doing to help these people out?
Thank you. Before we respond, I want you to be able to get all your questions out.
That's it.
That was it.
Yeah.
Well, I will respond
Council President?
just as an individual. I don't frequent the 7-Eleven nor the tobacco store, so it would be impossible for me to know if someone was out there begging unless I went to those stores. I thank you for coming here to this meeting to let us know that there are people out there that are in need of help. I would encourage you to reach out to the city and let the city know so that we can be aware of that and see if there's anything that we could do. But it's impossible for me to know that someone's out there if I'm never there. One second.
Oh, I'm sorry.
1 second, sir. I will defer to the chief of police as it relates to public safety.
Yes, good evening. I'm familiar with like 3 individuals that Mr. Powell is talking about. I've been out there personally with a male and a female, offering them resources and telling them how to get it. One individual that's out there on a regular basis, he's well known in the city of Glenarden and hanging out in front of the 7-Eleven. All the officers are familiar with him. Instead of trying to lock him up, we try to offer him resources and stuff. He says he's going to comply. He has my business card. He has the captain's business card and a couple of officers. So basically the ball's in his court to decide what he want to do with his life. But we do offer them and talk to these individuals because we don't believe in just running people off unless they're doing, if they're panhandling and asking for money and we witness it or we get a call from the particular store. So we are familiar with it. And we do have just a handful of people in the area that need help, and we try to offer it to them. Thank you.
I'm confused since you are some of you are at-large elected officials. You're supposed to know what goes on inside of Glenarden. So that's just part I don't understand. If you ran citywide, you should know what goes on in the city. You know, there's people early in the morning out there begging for money, you know, looking for money.
Council
So I was
President.
wondering, what are you doing to help these people out?
Thank you, sir. Just so we can
Council
address your
President.
question, Councilman Ferguson.
Good evening, Mr. Powell. I have, on occasions, given them money. I've offered them resources as well. A lot of people are out there because they want to be. I can be transparent enough to say that there were times when my son was out there on drugs. No need, brought up in church, have a pastor, back and forth. And was no need to be out there. People choose to be out there. You give them resources. I've, gone to different, we've had vendors here that offered assistance, so I obtained their cards and their information so that I could give those to the people. They do not want help. And all we can do is do that, but we are not responsible as elected officials. I feel I'm not. Even my adult son, I can only do what I can do, but it's somebody's will. You can't go against someone's will. And it's sad, but that's what happened. So I really personally don't feel that as elected officials we should be held accountable for that. We can just do what we can do and move on.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, since you asked it of the council, I was a direct question to the council. I wanted to give other council members the opportunity to answer. So I have two. I will go to Councilman Fareed first, and then Councilman Hairston online would like to address your question as well.
Thank you so much for your question. Since the American Rescue Plan Act funds were made available to the city, the council has made use of those funds through a number of grant programs that have been designed for homeowners, for individuals, for businesses. So there are a number of things that we have done to bring forth that money to the citizens. And it was very important that we passed tonight the legislation R28/2023 for that project administrator, so that those resolutions that we have passed to be able to utilize the American Rescue Plan Act funds will actually be able to happen. So we're looking forward to seeing that once we bring the project manager into place, that the citizens will start to receive some relief. And we hope that will help. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Hairston?
Are you able to hear me, or y'all can't really hear me clear?
We can hear you clearly.
Oh, all right, because I've been screaming a lot. Ain't nobody heard me all night. But Mr. Powell, thank you for your concern. I would say personally, me, I have spoke to people at that 7-Eleven. I go there a lot. I like the Starburst gummies out there, so I'll be there a lot just to keep it all the way 100 with you. I actually have talked to some people out there. I think that would help is if we did like more job fairs in the city or something like that, because I noticed that particularly some people that I have talked to, they may have records, so they may have things that's pending, on they, like so that would prevent them from being able to get jobs or prevent them from being able to be productive in the city as we need them to. So, me and Councilman Herron, that's why we be doing expungement fairs. And last year, for example, I did talk to a guy about an expungement fair, and he just didn't come. So I do echo some of the sentiments of my other colleagues that spoke, because some people just don't want to come. But if you got any ideas and you want to talk about anything that you think could be productive or will help, you can email me personally if you want to, because I don't mind getting out there and fixing that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And Councilwoman Guillaume?
Thank you, Council President. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And I want to thank Mr. Powell also for his comments or his question per se. I do, in addition to what my fellow council members stated, we also and I think Chief or Acting City Manager Bryant, in whichever capacity I am addressing this, can attest to, even during the heavy /poor weather when it was really cold outside, that Chief and I had connected about the population that was experiencing homelessness and if there was something that the city can do. Separate from that, we also had gotten an email from the county to make sure that if we saw anyone outside that was going through these bad times, that we would provide shelter for them. And Chief can attest to that. I hope that he recalls that. But that's one thing that we also did as at-large members. The other thing that I would like to just put out there is I feel like we as a collective, not just the council, but also citizens, we need to be very careful, because a lot of the folks who are out there experiencing homelessness have mental health issues. It's not just, okay, do we have money to give them, or do we have food to give them, or do we have shelter to give them? A lot of folks, they are struggling mentally. And so it's greater than what we perceive them to be. It's not necessarily they're out there because they want to be out there. I'm only saying that because I've worked with the population experiencing homelessness. Oftentimes it's bigger than that. So I just want to put that out there, and thank you for your question.
Thank you, Councilman Guillaume and Councilman Harris.
Let me say this, and just give you some reality. Prince George's County is one of the worst counties when it comes to providing services to homeless men. It's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. I've dealt with this county on certain situations when it comes down to homelessness, and mental illness is absolutely horrible. Maryland is the worst state for people with mental disabilities when it comes to services. So, you know, we can do what we can do, but again, if the services aren't there, I mean, these services run deep. I mean, what they need runs deep. You need, you know, residential treatment. You know, Prince George's County eliminated almost all their rehab programs that they had years ago. You know, so, you know, we can offer them something to be a Band-Aid, but if they're not, if the county and the state is not ready to commit to this problem, it's very little that we can do as a community. I mean, we can direct you to some places and everything, but I'm telling you, because a lot of the guys I see up there are African-American men, and I'm telling you right now, Prince George's County is horrible when it comes down to services for African-American. And I actually looked at it when I was at MML, me and Councilman Harrison was at MML, we actually talked to the people that was involved with the mental health program, and Prince George's County wasn't a member of it. They had a program that they had, like I think they call it Second Time Around, where the state would give jobs, and Prince George's County is not a member of that program. They wouldn't sign up for it. You know, so those are programs that can help get people back on their feet. But again, the services that are needed when it comes down to mental health, and I have a relative that's in the mental health system and dealing with disabilities, they're horrible. They're absolutely horrible. And I've addressed this with the lieutenant governor, I addressed it with the governor when I saw him in a meeting, and he got mad at me, just like they do up here, because I asked him questions that he didn't want to hear. You know, so I mean, it's a major problem. But getting to it is a huge endeavor that's going to take not only it's going to take state and county, because we as a small government can do very little. Because I mean, some of these guys have been out there for years, and I know some of them. You know some of them because you see them constantly. You know, like Ms. Ferguson said, you know, we got a lot of them out there that do have drug addiction problems, and a lot of that comes with a mental health issue also. So, you know, I feel for them, but I still think we need the help of a larger body, more funding, and we need to push the county to do more for, you know, provide more services. You know, so that's what I see in that. You know, we can do what we can do. My thing is, I'm not one to put no money in somebody's hands so they can go out there and back crack. That's what I'm not going to do. You know, there needs to be a program set up that's going to give them what they need, the counseling that they need, the job rehabilitation. Some of them haven't worked in years, so they need training. They need the mental health benefits. They need, you know, the drug intervention. So, I mean, I understand what you're saying, but it's much deeper than just, you know, doing a program right now. And my thing is, I don't like doing programs that's only going to last a year, when a person needs 5 years worth of help. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Herring.
Sometimes there's people at the bus stop over there sleep. People at the little stairs over here, they lead up to Piedmont, they're over there, they sleep, you know, so, and I guess some of these people either hang around or live in Glenarden.
Thank you, Councilman.
Okay, that's...
Mr. Powell. I'm sorry, just Ms. Jones, and then we'll be done.
Okay. And not to say that there are no programs, because I just got through looking into some different programs for a relative of mine. So others might eat offers a program for job training and career building and mental health services. There's another program in Suitland, not Andrew's House, but it's ran by Dr. Garrett. He works for Prince George's County. There's also there's 2 or 3 other programs that are out there. Not Goodwill, but Salvation Army offers a program for persons, and it is a 5-year program. Also, they offer housing, mental health issues, career building, you know, to help those persons that want to. And see, the thing of it is, when they do the intake, you have to, when they do your intake, you have to want to be a part of the program. They just don't take people in because they say they need some place to live or they need this. You have to want to be a part of the program and participate in the program as stated. So there are at least 5 different programs that I know of that are out there for people that want assistance. And also Latasha Renee Ward, she's does a lot of reentry. She can connect folks with reentry programs, career building also. Prince George's County Council person Calvin Hawkins also does that kind of work. So there are some programs out there for people that want the help and are going to participate in that program.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And as Ms. Jones just stated, another email just came to my inbox. It's a food pantry hosted by the county. So the council will do as much as we can do, but I encourage everybody. It breaks my heart to see people begging on the street, people who don't have food to eat, people in the cold. And I think it's a personal responsibility from each citizen of the United States at the discretion and wisdom to help as many as you can. We will do what we can as council members, but I think it's incumbent upon all of us as, human decency if we see a need to address the need. So thank you, Mr. Powell, for bringing it to our attention, and we will, continue to work on it and welcome your ideas of how we can do better for all of our citizens. Thank you, Mr. Powell.
Okay.
So I have 3 hands. I thought I saw 1 hand. So I have 2 online, and then I'll come to you because they have their hands up first, okay? The first online is Mr. Richard Arroyo Montgomery.
Yes, good evening, Council President, Council members. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. You have 4 minutes.
Okay. All right, thank you. Just along the lines of the conversation now, but somewhat different. At the intersection of Landover Road and St. Joseph's Drive, there are constant panhandlers there. I mean, these are not people who appear to have any kind of disability or anything or any kind of mental illness. I mean, they're just out there. These are people that, you see them, it's almost like this is like their part-time job. You see them like every weekend. And it's pretty much the same people. The concern is that they're always out there. And further concern is that when they're panhandling, they're out in the street within the cars. Light changes and they're out there. So now they're trying to, cross across back to their standing position, which of course becomes a hazard for them. But more than, that's a concern, but the concern also is, the constant panhandling at this intersection. I've also seen the panhandling at the entrance and exit to the Costco gas station along that corridor there. What, if anything, can the city do about that? It's just not. It's just a sore sight. I feel bad for them, but at the same token, they're out there, they're panhandling, they have signs up, and it's just not a good visual. It's right at the intersection of the, of Woodmore Town Center, and more concerning now is that with Woodmore Commons going up, we're probably going to see even more of that. So again, what, if anything, can the city of Glenarden do, with the council itself, or perhaps the police department, or maybe the mayor herself, who or what can be done about this situation? Thank you.
Thank you. Are those all your questions?
Yes.
Thank you. To address that, we can take a look into it. I know as I'm going out on Landover Road and St. Joseph Drive, I do sometimes see a woman actually and her child out there across the street, which is not in Glenarden. But I definitely agree that people crossing traffic, as the light changes, is a public safety issue. And so as far as it is within the city limits, we'll do what we can to address those issues. I'm not sure, Chief Brian, what we can do about Costco property.
In reference to Costco, that's something we can look at. They had police out there before, but they're no longer out there, so we can have the guys pay special attention to that. And in reference to St. Joseph and Landover Road, that does fall in the county. But if we see him out there, I know if I see him or the captain, we tell them, it's a safety issue more than anything else. So most of the time they'll leave and then they come right back after we leave. So, and unfortunately, that's a problem all over America now with people at different locations. I know it's very prevalent in D.C. when I was there, and it's just the hard times people are having now, but what we're trying to do is look at safety and resources for these individuals. But we do address them, but that's all we can do is have them move on because they're not really breaking laws. Thank you, Mr. Arar.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Council President.
More question?
Just to follow up on that, I mean, I think panhandling, Prince George County did pass a panhandling law where it is against the law to panhandle in the street, especially if you have children involved in it. So I think we may just need to reach out to the county since that's the county law.
Thank you, Councilman Herring. Ms. Lita?
Hi, good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So kind of piggybacking off of what has already been said. I know I brought this up before with the previous administration. And where are we with the 3 tobacco stores that are in Ward 1, which I was told in the previous administration by that former acting chief of police that none of them were 24 hours. That is not the case at all. They're all lit up and they're 24 hours right across from the City Hall as well as the one on the strip behind the 7-Eleven. My concern is that we have had an influx of crime, loitering, trash, you name it, over in Ward 1 since these 3 stores have been open. I don't see police presence like we should over here on Ward 1. There's also another issue going on. I don't know about Ward 2 and Ward 3, but there are families moving into Ward 1 who do not like or respect African American people. They're so bold that my son was called a black dog in Spanish. He was yelled at by a mother and her child last week. My children are fluent in Spanish and we knew exactly what they said. They thought it was really funny, okay? They're going around, this is Black History Month. Since you are black, come shine my shoes. And it's spilling over from the neighborhoods and also into schools. Now, that's something we need to either have conversations and let them know if you're moving into this neighborhood, this is a family knit community. It has always been that, and we're losing it. We are losing it. And I understand there are people that are new here in Glenarden, but please listen to those who have been here, whose parents have been here. We don't want to see the change that we're seeing. This is not what I want in Glenarden, and I know I speak on behalf of others. And the unity starts at the top. If I go to an event that is sponsored in Glenarden, I want to see more than just one representative from the city council or the mayor's office or whatever. We got to bring it together. We have got to get unified so internally, when those coming from the outside come to our events or whatever the case may be, they feel the unity. So I appreciate what everyone is doing. I treat everyone with the same amount of respect. And I know this is a hard job, but there are some serious issues in Glenarden that need to be addressed. We had some young men standing right by my house that were plotting to carjack someone. Right by my house. I have kids, other people have kids. We have elderly people on the street. Waking up in the morning, you see wrappers from blunt papers, and you see empty liquor bottles, and you got music playing all night long. You don't want to call the police because neighbors are now saying, oh, well, so-and-so is calling on me. So-and-so is doing this, and so-and-so is doing that. I don't want my family to be attacked because I'm speaking up, but I'm also not going to continuously see this neighborhood, this ward go downhill. We need to do something about these tobacco stores over here. Now, I don't know what can be done there here, but can we shut them down at a certain time? Because it's only increasing the crime. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Ms. Lita.
Thank you. Thank you all.
We will. Our police officers will continue to patrol the streets and do as much as we can to make sure that our citizens are safe. And we thank you for your comments. And please feel free to reach out to me directly via email. And we can work together to see what other things we can do as it relates to a community. Because that's one thing that I heard you say is a community neighborhood. Now, I can't stop certain people from moving in, but what we can do is reach out to our neighbors to make sure that this community stays a family-knit community. Reach out to people who don't look like me to start a conversation. For example, today I had someone come to my house who was deaf, and what I did to break the ice is ask him sign language that I could speak to him in his language. I think we need more of that from the various groups of people who may be different, but we all are human beings and want the same thing, which is peace, safety, and liberty. All right, with that, I have 2 comments in here, 3, and I will go, ma'am, with you first. If you could state your name, and then you have 4 minutes. Then I'll come to you, and then Ms. Wilson, I'll come to you. Yeah, no, her, and then you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Cynthia Gray. I'm actually new to the Glenarden community, 5 years. What I wanted to ask about and talk about today is the traffic that we're seeing entering into the Woodmore Town Center. It's very heavy. I live right on the main street, and I work from home, so I see cars zipping by there all day long. I walk my dog. I try to cross the street. It's very dangerous. I have kids. Is there anything in the works to calm that traffic down? I've started a petition prior to get support. I think it's general consensus that we need more on those main streets to slow the traffic down. We invite all the great business that's coming into that area, but we need something to slow the traffic down. I'm talking specifically Glenarden, Campus Way North and Ruby Lock.
Are those all your questions? Because I don't want to...
No, I might have more if you...
Yeah, so I'm writing them down, and then we'll address all of them at the end, so you won't run out of time.
Those are some of the main things. Other things I've seen a lot of police activity in our area. We had a lot of thefts during the last quarter of the year. My specific community, the Woodmore Town Center community, I know we banded together when we had a lot of package thefts and car thefts, and we spread the word through our social media pages. But I think what I would like to see is more, not response, we do get police response, but more interaction with what's happened with those, did we catch the thieves at, we provided video and license plate and car footage and all that stuff. Like just feedback on, the things that we provide. I think that's my last question.
Did you want to address? Councilwoman Fareed.
Hi, Ms. Gray. I'm the council member for Ward 3, and I also live in Woodmore Town Center. And the reason why I even ran for council and why I got involved started with traffic concerns. So I definitely feel your pain there. That is part of the reason why I was asking the question about the status of the turnover of the streets to the city of Glenarden. It is outside of our ability at this point to do anything on streets because we do not have any jurisdiction over them. So if there are certain streets, and I can provide you with the map, I have your information. I'll provide you with the map of which streets are Woodmore Town Center streets. So they are the responsibility of the HOA, which streets are county streets. Ruby Lockhart is one of them. And then which streets will be city streets once everything is turned over. So like Sir Michael Place, Glenarden Parkway, these through streets where we have a lot of the speeding. And in order for us to be able to implement traffic safety measures like speed bumps or stop signs, we have to have ownership of the streets. So that's why we need to expedite that process and find out what we can do. That's what we were working on most recently, is there's a lot of legal concerns as to why the streets aren't turned over, but what can we do to still address the safety concern, knowing that those legalities are in place right now? So that is of major concern and top of mind for all of us. The county has a Vision Zero program, so there is funding available to HOAs and to municipalities to make sure that they are implementing traffic safety mitigation efforts. So I think the best thing we can do is to continue to put pressure on the developer to get those streets turned over to us so that we can go ahead and put those measures in place. And as far as the thefts, that was definitely a problem for us. I had a package stolen as well off my porch, and I think that the police department did a fine job of responding very quickly. I think, and Chief can speak to this more, but I think part of the challenge is that geographically we are crossing a number of municipalities, so they can easily get out of Glenarden and be in Bowie or Springdale or someplace else very quickly. So has to be a coordinated effort, and I think for the most part it's the county who is kind of taking the lead on those things. But I know that our police department has had a lot of effort and input on that, but I will allow Chief to expand.
I actually have a follow-up question.
Okay.
And I'm sorry to interrupt that because I don't want to forget it. As far as the traffic, since there is a delay with what's happening, is that something that the police department, Glenarden Police Department, can address as far as, you know, I don't know, just simple stop. I don't really know. Just something where they could address it, you know, stopping people or getting them on the radar guns or something. It's pretty, I mean, it's been bad enough to where a Amazon car got crashed while it was in a parked position down Campus Way North. That's how bad the traffic is coming through that street.
Yeah, and I'll let Chief speak to it as well, but there have been lots of efforts by the police department, even sort of really sitting on the circle, right? That circle that's over by, off of Ruby Lockhart, going towards Costco, and also the main circle, where Campus Way meets Ruby Lockhart. I think, you know, it's a situation where you can only catch them when it happens. You know, once there's no police presence there, then everybody is speeding. So I think, you know, I don't know if it's even possible for somebody to be out there 24/7, but again, I'll let Chief speak to that.
Chief, we'll go to Chief Bryan, and then, because the 4 minutes have expired, but I encourage you to, you know, if you want to hang around, I'm pretty sure Councilwoman Fareed can answer your questions after the meeting. You can also give us an email. But to be fair for everybody here with the 4 minutes, we want to keep it at that. But Chief Bryant?
Good evening. How are you? Thank you for your questions. Yeah, we've been getting a lot of calls in reference to that. The big issue is that certain areas like St. Joseph and all the areas on the county, in the circle, when we used to be over by Costco's, it did calm, but you have to be there, like Councilman Fareed said. The biggest thing we ask everyone, especially if you see something, say something, just give us a call. But we try to frequent the area, but we have a small agency and we have a lot to cover. So we do try to be visible out there. Most of the officers assigned to these areas, they know the key areas. But just like Mr. Aurora said earlier, over by Costco and stuff, when I hear this type of information, just give us a call and we make sure we try to get special attention in these areas to try to address these concerns. Ms. Butler, who's sitting over there, I've been attending the 202 coalition meetings with her on a monthly basis in reference to the streets being traffic calming measures and so forth. She can attest to the fact that Senator Benson, that's one of the priorities on her list for District 24, is to address these concerns, especially with all these businesses and development from the state and the senator's office, widening the road and having street calming measures. We particularly need them in the circles because we have a lot of car crashes in the circles. They have different technology now that we're trying to get. So we're trying to work with the developers in the area to help assist the community and us as a community and a police force. In reference to what you stated earlier about crime and so forth, for example, like with the car thefts and so forth, if you go to the website, I always give an update about different things that's happening and what we're doing, like with rims being stolen off certain vehicles like the Hondas and stuff. The information tonight about the steering wheel locks for the Kias and Hondas, I'll be posting that information tomorrow once I get possession of those the steering wheel locks and stuff. So once again, anybody have any questions or concerns, you can reach me by email or call my cell phone number, and I can address your concerns. But I appreciate the community. Just reach out and give us a call or email, and I'm pretty good with getting back to people ASAP. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Please state your name, and you have 4 minutes.
Hello, I'm Commissioner Dinah Price, and I have 2 questions and 1 comment. The first question is, let me make my comment first. My comment is I'm very disappointed with you guys. I'm disappointed because when I voted for unity. I voted for you guys to bring this community together. And in the last couple of months, I haven't seen that at all. So I'm disappointed. I'm hurt. I'm hurt because my community is hurting behind the lack of unity that you guys show here. I see support, but it's never unified. When we have events in the community, I see 1 person, 2 people maybe from this board, but nobody else. I feel like my community is missing you guys. We miss you because we voted for you. We miss you because you're not all in. We miss you because you're not doing, if you're divided, we can't stand. We can't be successful as Glenarden people if you guys are not together. So that's my comment. But my next question is, as a community, I live here in the community across the street, Reed and Fulton. We know everybody here has been privileged to the fact that we have guns, AKAs, and whatever else in our community. I feel like there has nothing been done about that. We have no support. I keep hearing about all the money in the budget. I keep hearing about all the things that you're doing, but there's no direct correlation to my community. We are not feeling the benefit of that. The grants are not for my community. That's for other people's community. That's for another neighborhood. That does not affect us. I'm asking, where is the police presence? We have none. I feel like, yes, because we have the new Glenarden, we have the Wegmans and all the other stores, all of the resources are going into that area, and we are feeling neglected and abandoned. Our neighborhood is one of the oldest neighborhoods in Glenarden. Where are you in our neighborhood? What are you doing for us? Wegman, everybody in that area is getting police presence. We have shootings constantly on the weekends, break-ins constantly. I don't hear you guys mention us at all. I don't see you at all. I don't feel you at all. And nothing you've said tonight affects us. I'm disappointed because I voted you guys in. I voted for a change. Since I've been in Glenarden, when I moved here, Glenarden was the best community I've ever lived in. I have been to almost every event in my community. The police chief would come past my house and stop every time he seen me out there cutting the grass and ask me how I was doing. Are you okay? Is there anything you need? Anything? I have yet to have a police officer in the last year and a half stop and even recognize me, or to stop to even speak to me, to stop and say anything. I see them speed past in Glenarden. Our community, we are plagued with a little bit of violence. But that's why I expect to see you. I expect a change from you guys or something. We had neighbors reaching out to say, okay, we experienced in Ward 1, we are experiencing homelessness, we're experiencing crime, we're experiencing all these things. But I haven't heard any, you said we have resources. That means these people who are homeless, you're asking them to go to a food pantry and they are standing on the street. How are they going to get there if they have no food or no resources? What they're asking is, can you bring the resources to Glenarden where we are? You guys should have some kind of program. All this money that we were discussing tonight, there was no discussion on what we're going to do for the homeless, the needy, or any of that. Go ahead. I'm sorry. My time up?
Yes.
Okay. I'll want me to sit down?
Well, you asked at least one question. So
One last thing. Can I get a commitment from each one of you up there that you're going to look into what I'm saying and commit to being unified? That's what I'm asking. That's the real issue. Go ahead.
Okay. So just want to address a couple things. So to my knowledge, at least since I've been council president, I haven't seen a passage of any grant that was only for one ward. So I just want to say that there are grants out there sponsored by Councilwoman Guillaume and Councilwoman Fareed and Councilwoman Ferguson that addresses needs of the community with the ARPA funds. That is what we have been doing. We've passed several pieces of legislation to address business needs, citizens' needs, and unfortunately, we had an issue where our city manager left. When we were in the process of trying to get a project manager we've passed a lot of legislation. A lot of legislation that we've worked well on, whether going back to Ms. Gray's, I'm sorry, did I say that right? As it relates to Councilman Herring and Councilman Hairston with the speed bumps. We have done a lot in a year and a half. We need that to be pushed out. Now, it's hard to get pushed out if we have turnover at the city manager because of lack of unity.
But we have an acting city manager.
Yeah, and the acting city manager has stepped in and done a phenomenal job. He's trying to be chief and city manager, and we are diligently working to hire another city manager. In fact, we have interviews tomorrow. So we're doing the best that we can as relates to that, and I would never vote for anything that targeted benefit one ward or another. I'm a councilman at large. I fight for all citizens, and so all of our grants are geared for our citizens, whether you're in Ward 3 at Wilmore Town Center, whether you're in Ward 1, whether you're in Ward 2. This is for every citizen. So I just want to put that out there. I am happy to sit with you to pull all the legislation that we've passed to let you know what's available to you and what's available to your neighbors. And I've seen you at several events. I try to make as many as I can. Unfortunately, I can't make all of them, but I've sat and I've spoken with you at several events, especially when it comes to the Housing Authority when they just had the Christmas party. We were here, so we will continue to do.
But a Christmas party is nothing to me.
I understand.
Christmas party means nothing when our neighborhood is in shambles.
I understand. Okay. I just want you to be assured that we're working as best as we can. The chief and the captain is working as best as they can, and we heard your concerns, and we'll continue to look into them to make sure that you feel, and your community, our community, because there's no you versus us, our community is safe, and we can address as much as we can. All right?
Okay. Can I make one more?
I'm sorry. Okay. So what I'll say is that I'll stay behind, and I'll talk to you afterwards because I want to be fair with everyone with their 4 minutes. I'll talk to you afterwards. I'll take any more questions that you have and share my email with you. I think you have it. You also have my phone number. And then we can hear that. But I want to be fair for everybody so nobody can say that one person's given more time than the other. Councilwoman Jones?
I just have one. I'm looking at the chief's police report for December through January 20th, and I don't see, unless Chief, I don't see any address on here for that area as any incidents that happened over there. So these shootings and robbery, you said break-ins?
Assaults
Or whatever?
Yes.
The Chief, you're not aware?
I've called them in. He's aware.
Good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. It was GHA property. I know we've been working very hard with that. Lonnie Scales, Sharon Land, Fowler, and some of the other citizens in that area. We've been working diligently, going to meetings over there. My captain, my lieutenant is the lead for Glenarden Housing Authority. The mayor also been involved with that area, trying to make things happen over there. The biggest issue with that whole area is the association itself, where they need to make rules and changes in reference to that, and we can talk about that later. Ms. Land, we already went over that with Lonnie Scales. Things need to be put in place. We do get calls. When we get calls for service, we do respond. A lot of times, when we get the call and get to the location, people want to make a report. It's the call we get is not what we get there for. So a lot of time it's like an argument with a neighbor and stuff like that. So we give them, we don't take a report for arguments and stuff like that. We also responded to the elementary school in reference to that area. So there's a lot of issues going on there. So like I advised at the meeting with Ms. Land and Lonnie Scales, is for that community to work together. We have a lot of discord in that community, and they're not willing to work with the resources and the help they have from the police department and so forth. So we're very familiar with it. In reference to certain things, we got information about some guns, some young kids with guns. We did make 3 arrests. We did recover a weapon in reference to that, but we don't divulge that information. But we do. We are taking action over there. We know who the key players are. One of the main arrests that was on January 18th, when we took that arrest. We had to have the county work on that with us because my agency is not equipped with the tactical gear to go into a property. So we had to obtain a warrant and obtain a partnership from Prince George's County Police Department to make sure everything was safe and done properly. So that's where we are with that. The great thing about that, I did have a citizen that was very concerned that worked with me to obtain the information to help us actually identify the players and get the weapons. So once again, I'm continuing to ask people to reach out and call. I'll give you one of my cards. And as a police department for our community, once again, we out there, and everybody can tell you I respond to my calls and my emails. And if you give me your address while you're out there cutting grass, I'll come by there and check you out. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Councilman Harris.
I would like to say we did initiate we did approve a grant program. Me along with Councilman Harrison, Councilman Guillaume, full council supported it. Like $60,000 grant to put money into the project because I know there was issues over there about housing and some of the conditions that it was in. So I mean, we're looking at it and we're trying to do what we can do. I mean, we had a public hearing on the situations that was going on over there. So it's just a matter of trying to pull everything together and look and see what we actually can do and how much we can do. So right now we do have money set aside for that development, but again, we're waiting to get our opera funds manager on so that we will administer all of that and get some money funded over there for something that y'all need. So we're looking at it. So.
Thank you, Councilman Harris. Ms. Wilson? Please state your name, and Ms. Wilson, you have 4 minutes.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Ms. Wilson. And I have several questions and comments. So I'm going to start out with this one. The resolution that was dealing with the police cars and the outfitting, they were paid without council approval. And my questions are directed to the treasurer and to the council president. And that is, did you know that any purchase over $6,000 needed council approval prior to purchase? I asked that question again because of the fact that several months ago I asked the question if the system that was already established was it still in place, and that had to do with the $6,000 limit that could could be spent without council approval. So you all, the two of you can answer that once I finish. I'm just going to say that that problem could have been dealt with a little differently. A special meeting could have been called for the council to vote on legislation to hurry up and pass that so that it could be paid without just jumping out there paying it. Okay, my next concern is I have concerns about the resolution about the council rules, and I want to know why was this resolution presented to the council at the time that it was presented. I feel that it was directed towards my council representative when nothing came up concerning this when the council attacked the mayor several months ago. And this was everybody on the council. But if anything, I would have thought that something would have been said then, would have been put in place then, that we shouldn't do that. Okay, so why were their actions, meaning the council's actions during that time, why were they overlooked and nothing was said about it? There was no reprimand, nothing. I just feel that Mr. Herring is being targeted. If anything, something should have been presented at that time. And I feel that that's clearly a personal attack on the Councilman Herring, and I disagree with this resolution. I don't think that any elected official should be removed because the people put these elected officials in place. If anything, everybody should have been removed the night that the mayor was attacked. Okay. I feel that this action interferes with Ward 1 representation. I disagree with the council that they voted to let a council person you all have to take a vote or whatever to bring somebody back in based on the proposal that you all have now. And I don't think that the council would be unbiased. Any leadership or any of the council persons, I don't think that you would be unbiased. I think everybody there would be biased and it wouldn't be handled fairly. I think that the council needs to have you all need to have your work sessions differently without it being on Zoom, because you all need to be able to talk freely and to freely have discussions. You know, I imagine some people don't want to come home and listen to people disagreeing or whatever, but we have to recognize that we have an option, we have a choice. We don't have to turn our TVs on or be on the Zoom. But you all need to be able to privately, I mean, we can have the meetings here in the building. Anybody wants to know what's going on can come here in the building. But you all need to get it together as far as so you could be able to talk to one another freely. Okay. And
Ms. Wilson, sorry to interrupt, but you're 4 minutes up, so could you please close out your comments and then I can respond?
Okay, I just have one other thing. I want to know what's been done concerning the parking problem in Ward 1. It was stated that yeah, we need to do something. Something needs to be done, and I would have thought that unity would have been exemplified if you all had gotten together with Mr. Herring and Mr. Herring, let's talk about this, because I understand you're having a problem over there, and we all want that issue to be resolved, because we all work for all of the areas in the city, not just one, not just two. So that would have shown me that you're interested in what's going on in my neck of the woods.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson. You asked a direct question, so I'll answer it directly. Did I know about the $6,000 rule? Yes, I did know about the $6,000 rule. I've never been in any organization where things work perfectly. in life and business and everything, mistakes are made. I think the treasurer has done a great job since he's been on, getting us up to speed of where we should be. We have a long way to go. But he readily admit that mistakes were made. How it was made, how it happened, it really doesn't matter as long as we identified it and we plugged it up so that it'll never happen again. I can't promise you that we're always going to be perfect and things are just going to be perfect from here for the rest of our term. But what I can assure you is that we have hardworking people in administration, the chief and acting city manager, the treasurer, our Department of Public Works director, who are working hard to be as close to perfect as they can, but they cannot be perfect all the time. A mistake was made, an apology has been said for it, and the corrective actions have been put in place. There's nothing else that we can do. I don't believe in publicly ridiculing people and harping on their mistakes, especially when their successes aren't equally praised in the meetings. So we'll move on from that, and then no. Ms. Wilson, I never said that you ridiculed anybody, and no, I'm not saying that you ridiculed anybody. As it relates to your question about the council rules and the timing, the council rules, despite what some people may believe, was not necessarily put in place for one person. They're council rules. It's not sponsored. If that were the case, I would have said, Councilman Curtis must be removed, or it would have been names. But that particular resolution was tabled. A good idea from Councilwoman Fareed said she brought up a good idea of just waiting for the parliamentarian. I'm a first-time politician, if you can call that ever. I have a lot of experience in the accounting world, but not too much in the politics world. And so what we do have is our effort to hire a parliamentarian, which we have, was here with us today to help us on procedures as it relates to our rules, as it relates to how we conduct our meetings. And that shows our commitment to get it right, to make sure that our citizens aren't getting an argue fest, aren't getting a meeting where people just can't stand to be here because we're arguing and we're bickering back and forth. I want to, as long as I'm a councilman, as long as I'm a council president, to make sure that I do the best that I can, and I listen to our parliamentarian, I can learn as much as I can to make sure our meetings are productive. The city manager, acting city manager, will continue to push the pedal to the metal on the administrative side to make sure our services are being met. And I encourage you that if things aren't being met, that you email. But as I said before, we have interviews tomorrow to make sure that we plug that position so the chief can get back to what he does best, which is being the chief of police of this great city of Glenarden. And the parking in Ward 1, we welcome it to come back to the floor. The mayor had a good idea with, as it relates to, I believe it was permitting the parking. We had some attempts to work with it. Unfortunately, it failed. But I am open. Other citizens are open in other communities who were adversely affected by that piece of legislation to actually come together to work with us to come up with something that can benefit the entire city. Again, I will stay after if you want to speak with me afterwards. I'm happy to take some more comments or anything that I missed. And you can also email any one of our council members and we'll address any of your concerns. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Wilson. You and I can have a discussion afterwards. Thank you. But, Ms. Wilson, and I will stay after to answer your question. So the thing was, every citizen had 4 minutes, right? And to be fair to every citizen, you were given 4 minutes, and we didn't say anything so you get your questions asked, and you had your 4 minutes, and then we're responding. It seems like you have more, and I respect that. But and to respect other people's time. I'm willing to stay afterwards and address all of the questions and concerns that you have, as long as it takes. I'm a night owl. I can stay up as long as I need to. But Miss Wilson, and I've just explained to you that I'm going to address any further questions you have after the meeting. Could you please sit down and allow another citizen to ask questions if they have that? But Ms. Wilson, you're being
Sir, I'm not doing anything. I'm standing up. My legs haven't stiff.
okay. So you
I was barely able to walk.
thank,
That's why
and that's fine.
I'm not doing anything. I'm not saying anything.
Yeah. Ms. Wilson, so at this point, and I respect you, Ms. Wilson, I'm a point of order. If you want to stand, you can stand. But we're going to move on. Thank you. Are there any other citizens' comments online or in the room? Hearing none, the time is 10:14. This meeting is now adjourned. Thank you.